You ever have one of those moments where your life just splits in half? Like, there's the before and there's the after? Yeah, that was me, sitting in a packed courtroom with a fresh surgical scar tugging under my shirt, watching the most feared woman in our neighborhood, the one who'd made everyone's lives a living hell, fall apart right in front of a judge. Karen Whitfield, HOA president, queen of clipped hedges and ruler of petty fines, was about to get 30 years in federal prison for stealing homes, including mine. You'd think I'd be cheering, but honestly, I was just numb, holding onto the edge of the seat while the judge read the charges like he was reading her obituary. But let me back up a sec. My name's Daniel Tran. For 15 years, Oakwood Estates was home, a place where folks knew each other, lawns were tidy, weekends meant barbecue smoke curling over the fences, and the HOA, well, it was mostly a joke. That was before Karen. The day she took over as president, everything changed. You could almost hear the collective groan from the block. She strutted down the street with a clipboard like she was auditioning for the role of neighborhood dictator. Rules became gospel overnight. You left your garbage can out 5 minutes late. $50. Grass too tall by an inch. A warning letter and a threat. She even measured our fences and counted the garden gnomes. And heaven help you if your front door wasn't the exact approved shade. That's how I got on her radar, navy blue instead of midnight blue. Seriously, only Karen could see the difference. She fined me $200, demanded I repaint. I pushed back, and just like that, I became public enemy number one in her eyes. Fast forward to last September. I was just an ordinary guy with ordinary problems, until a routine checkup turned my world upside down. You need surgery, my doctor said, immediately. I was scared enough without having to worry about HOA nonsense, but I figured I'd better play it safe. Let folks know I'd be out of commission. Sent an email to the board, CC'd Karen. Told them I'd be away for a few weeks. My brother Ben had keys. My neighbor Luis would pick up the mail, all that. Thought that would cover it. Surgery went okay, but I got stuck in the hospital longer than expected. Day 10, I'm eating lime jello and cursing hospital TV when my phone rings. It's Luis, and he's whispering like we're in a spy movie. Man, something's off. Karen showed up at your place with these official-looking guys. She said you sold the house to her. I nearly pulled my stitches. Sold the house? I'm lying here full of painkillers. What are you talking about? Luis just kept repeating. She had paperwork. They changed the locks. There's a sign saying it's under new ownership. My mind went blank. I called Ben. He drove over, called me back frantic. Dude, you've been robbed. The locks are changed. Your name isn't on the mailbox. There's a notice on the door. What the hell is going on? I ignored the doctor's warnings and checked myself out of the hospital the next morning, stitches and all. Ben drove me straight home, my home, or so I thought. Karen's car was in my driveway, and she came out smiling, all fake sweetness. Daniel, I wasn't expecting you so soon. As you can see, there have been some changes. She actually handed me a folder, all official looking, claiming I'd signed over my house to pay HOA fines I supposedly owed, $50,000 worth. My signature was on the document, or so it looked. Don't you remember? She said. Maybe the anesthesia made you forget. I could barely speak. I told her straight, this is fraud. I'm calling the cops. She just laughed, said it was all legal, that the deed had been filed with the county. She even told me I should be grateful she wasn't charging me rent. I spent the night at Ben's, half in pain, half in shock, and fully furious. The next day, I hired Lyndon Gwynn, the best real estate attorney in town. She took one look at the paperwork and said, this is bad, but it's also obvious forgery. We just have to prove it. She brought in a private investigator, Jack Holloway, ex-FBI, with the kind of calm that made you think twice about lying. Jack started digging. Within days, he'd uncovered more than I ever expected. Karen had used my HOA email to figure out exactly when I'd be out for surgery, then paid off a crooked notary, forged my signature with samples from HOA documents, and filed a fake deed, all while I was unconscious. And the kicker? She'd done it before, in other neighborhoods, to elderly folks and people in the middle of divorces. She was a pro. We took everything to the district attorney, and because her schemes crossed state lines, the FBI got involved. 6 weeks later, I stood on the sidewalk with Luis and Ben, still aching from surgery, and watched a fleet of black SUVs pull up to Karen's place. Agents and windbreakers rushed in. She came running out in a bathrobe, screaming that it was all a mistake. They showed her the warrant. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for wire fraud, mail fraud, forgery, racketeering." Her face cycled through every color in the crayon box. Disbelief, fury, and finally, pure fear. For the first time, Karen looked small. The neighborhood exploded. People poured out of their houses, whispering, filming, gossiping. Suddenly, everyone had a story about Karen. There was old Mrs. Turner, who'd been fined for her grandkid's tricycle on the lawn, and the single mom down the street who got hit with a lien for a mailbox that didn't match. Turns out, Karen had been a menace for years. The HOA board met that night and kicked her out, banned her from any future involvement, and everyone agreed. No one ever wanted to see another clipboard again. Her trial became the talk of the town. The prosecution, Rebecca Torres, a bulldog in a suit, laid out everything. The forged signatures, the fake notary stamps, testimonies from people Karen had scammed, a paper trail leading to over $2 million in stolen property. She even had a trophy wall at home, with newspaper clippings and photos of every house she'd stolen. The defense tried the old mental illness angle, but nobody bought it, especially after Rebecca showed videos of Karen berating an elderly veteran for his American flag and celebrating when a single mom got evicted. She was cold, calculated, and completely without remorse. I testified on day 2. I told them about the surgery, the fake deed, how she targeted me when I couldn't defend myself. More victims took the stand. An elderly woman from Arizona who lost her home of 40 years, a young guy from Texas whose dad died fighting the fake charges. There was even a twist. Turned out Karen's husband Harold had been gathering evidence on his own, scared for years, but finally ready to speak out. He broke down crying, telling the court he was sorry for staying silent, that he'd seen her practicing signatures at the kitchen table, and that he'd tried to warn people. It shook everyone. On the last day, Karen took the stand, still claiming innocence, saying I'd willingly signed the house over, that everyone was lying. But then Rebecca played security footage from the hospital, showing I was under anesthesia at the exact time the deed was signed. Karen cracked, first screaming, then sobbing, blaming everyone from the HOA board to her own husband. The jury was out less than 2 hours. Guilty on every charge, 27 in total. The judge didn't hold back. He called her a predator who preyed on the vulnerable, who abused power, and who showed not a shred of remorse. 30 years. No parole. Millions in restitution. Karen collapsed in the courtroom, wailing as officers cuffed her and led her away. The crowd was silent. Then someone started clapping, and the whole place erupted. It felt like justice, at least for a moment. But you know what? Justice isn't always that simple. The neighborhood changed after that. Some people thought 30 years was too harsh. Others said it wasn't enough. There was a lot of talk about how easy it was for someone in power to twist the system, how quickly trust can be broken. And I still look at my front door sometimes, grateful to have it back, but also wondering who's really safe when the people meant to protect us are the ones we have to watch out for. So let me ask you, what would you have done? Was justice really served? Or is the system just as broken as before? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Because these days, you never know what's hiding behind a clipboard.